Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Listen podcast. If you're watching this or listening to this, there's a 99% chance you already know who I am, so I'm going to spare you those details. But as to why I want to start this podcast, I wanted to give myself an opportunity to take a step back from the characters that I make and kind of give you guys a little bit of a peek as to like who I am. And more importantly, I love having different people on, having all kinds of interesting conversations and learning people's point of view. So what you can expect every week is a new guest, from friends to athletes to influencers to everything in between. And my first guest today was also the first guest of my original podcast 4 years ago.
It's an honor.
Is one of my best friends, Anna and I. How are you doing, brother?
I'm great.
My guy.
How are you today, my bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm very excited. We've been friends now for, I always get it confused, but I think like almost 20 years.
My benchmark is always 7 years old. So however old I am now, I just do the math on that.
Well, I'm 26, so that's 19 years.
Yeah, damn near 19 years.
Yeah.
That's essentially every major part of our lives. We've known each other.
Aside from birth, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember most about young Jesse or 7-year-old Jesse?
Blonde streaks. If y'all don't know, look at him and think about him with blonde streaks at the front of his hair, and that's how he was at my 7th birthday party.
Yeah.
I vividly remember. What was the reason for it? You went to Europe.
Yeah, I think I don't know.
I think it was Denmark. I think it was one of your trips to Denmark.
It was when I went to Denmark, but I was on a soccer team at the time, and a lot of the kids had the blonde streaks, the blonde highlights. So I went with my mom to get blonde highlights, and
came back to Canada looking like a whole new man.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I was a scared kid, like
fragile.
You remember? I was scared of getting in trouble all the time. I was scared of pissing off teachers, not doing well in school. And I remember you were the opposite. Not with school. You did really well in school, but you didn't give a shit.
No, you're right. My whole life,
trouble.
I've always felt like I'm the type of guy, truthfully, I'd like to, this is a wild example, but if I was on a cliff, I would like to feel that, go on the edge and just feel that feeling of what if, you know? I would never jump. But it's just the idea of getting that shot of adrenaline, and then I would jump off and then talk about it with my friends and be like,
yeah.
Because all the things I wanted to do, I would try to push you, and you would never be down.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Like what, though?
I'll give an example of how I don't know, it could have been a traumatic experience from your perspective, but I came over to your house. I don't know, I was staying late one night. Your mom made mac and cheese, and I just wanted to freestyle a little bit with the food and drinks options we had. And what did I do? I poured a little bit of Pepsi into my mac and cheese and mixed it up to see what the taste would be like. And without asking for Jesse's permission, I did the same to his, expecting him to, be interested in something new. And he started crying.
Yeah. I remember that. I didn't know where you were going, and then you said mac and cheese, and I'm like, I know exactly where you're going.
And then he started crying. Then I realized, like, wow, not everyone is wild enough to take these kind of ridiculous risks, which I understand.
Yeah. I remember, you weren't afraid of getting in trouble, or like if teachers told you to like shut up or like move you outside of the room or like on the other side of the class, like you didn't care.
No, I always had respect for authoritative figures, but it was just a matter of like, I didn't like them abusing their position. So a part of me always felt like I had to respond. And then I got into a lot of trouble as a kid in school.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
But I think the difference maker is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I don't know how much your parents cared, but I feel like because you always excelled in school, it was like, he's not a bad kid. He gets in trouble a lot, but he's smart. Like he's a smart kid. Like you always got A's in school.
But that was literally what I used to, like it was my leverage. It was my leverage of doing these stupid things as a kid, was to just come home and say, "What? I'm not a bad kid. Look at my grades."
I remember. I don't know if you remember this, but this is grade 2. And back in grade 2, if you want to go to the washroom, you had to go with someone. You had a buddy. And this was Mrs. Patterson's grade 2 class. And I remember the same day we had gone to an assembly, some sort of event, and everyone got wristbands.
Yeah.
And I remember you and I went to the washroom after the event, and there was another kid in the school that was in the washroom with us, and I smelled my the wristband, and I'm like, oh, this smells like crap. And this kid like got super upset that I like cursed.
Yeah.
And he like basically grabbed, like he was older, I think like maybe only a year or two older, but he grabbed me by
I
the
don't remember
hand.
this.
He grabbed me by the hand and he pulled me to the principal's office.
Another kid?
Yeah. And he told the secretary that I had said crap.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. She sent him back to his class and she told me and you to sit down. We sat for like 20 minutes and then assuming that we're waiting to see the principal, and she's just like, okay, you can go back to class. And you probably don't remember, me and you went back to class. I
don't remember this at all. That's crazy.
And we had been gone for maybe like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Patterson was like, where the hell, like, why does it take you guys 40 minutes to go to the washroom? We never told her what happened. And yeah, shout out Miss Patterson.
No, Miss Patterson. Yeah, we had a couple interesting stories with Miss Patterson. I don't think we're going to get into all of them.
Yeah.
But elementary was a fun place to be. And for context, as we went to the same elementary school, the same high school, and the same university. So I know this kid through and throughout.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's rare, like, so you're 25 and 26.
Yeah.
It's rare to have friends from university, college. It's even more rare to have friends from high school. It is incredibly rare to have friends from elementary school. Like
wildly rare.
Yeah. Especially, I feel like the last like year, I think I have spent a lot of time starting to understand that there's a difference between friends and acquaintances. I used to think I had a ton of friends. It's not actually the case. I have a ton of acquaintances.
Yeah.
Like to me, a friend is like someone that I can hang out with one-on-one. It's not awkward at all. Someone that I can go to for anything.
Yeah.
That to me is what a friend is. I don't necessarily have as many of those as I thought I did, but there's a lot of acquaintances.
Yeah, that's usually the benchmark. Is if can you see yourself in any situation or environment with just that person and no one else? Because a lot of friends we have, quote unquote, are in a group setting, and an well, there could be 3 layers to it. There could be acquaintances, friends, and then close friends. Because there's a lot of people I would consider friends that you might not see me or catch me doing anything one-on-one with, like grabbing food, going to a movie, whatever. But I do enjoy their company. And then you have the close friends where you could just spend 10 hours with a person and not even talk, you know? And that's,
I think a lot of it also comes down to you start to understand who's actually your friend when it isn't as easy to be friends with them.
Yeah.
Like all these people in university, for example, my program was very specific. There were 70 kids in my program in my year, so I knew every single kid in my program. So I thought a lot of those people were my friends. But they were my friends in the time because it was easy to be friends with them because I saw them every single day. We all had the same classes. But then it's like COVID happens, school finishes, and now you can't see them.
The accessibility isn't there anymore, yeah.
And now it's like, oh, so I'm not talking to this person as much, I'm not talking to that person as much. And it's not a bad thing by any means. It's just, it shows you who is actually your friend. Like I feel like we use the word a little too loosely.
Yeah. And as time goes on, it's like we get caught up in our own lives that we don't even think about, we tend to second guess checking in with certain people that you would want to check in with. Like, yo, those random thoughts one day, we're like, I wonder how this person's doing. Or I wonder what this person's up to.
Yeah.
And I think in those situations, we should take the time to reach out. But and we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much about it, honestly. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, honestly.
Yeah. Especially if it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, oh, like you feel bad, oh, like I haven't reached out to this person as much as I used to, or I'm just not really reaching out to them at all. It's like, well, they're not reaching out to you either. So it's not, like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's like a lot of the times both sides understand the situation, and that's just how it is.
Or you're put into a situation where you have a very close friend, and then out of nowhere they decide not to speak to you or anyone else around you.
Yeah.
And then years go by.
Yeah, and I think there are more and more reasons for that. Like as we have gotten older, you start seeing it more and more. And I feel like for both of us, a lot of it has been guys getting in relationships and like us losing friends that like we've known since elementary school, we've known since high school. And it's just the way the cookie crumbles. And you can't, you can be upset about it.
The first word that comes to mind is weird, because we are in no position to fight for a relationship, especially with a friend, when the factors that led to us not speaking to that person have nothing to do with the fabric of our friendship with that individual. It's a completely external factor that interfered, and now it's completely out of your control when you realize that the same person you were speaking to every day as a close friend, as a best friend, as some may consider a brother, and then that turns into you not speaking to them at all, and it just goes straight cold turkey. It's one of those things as an adult you have to you have to be mature and then move on with your life regardless.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes, it's sad to say, but it takes a different circumstance to show you whether someone actually is your friend or not. Because it kind of goes the same thing as like being in university or being in high school. When it's easy to be someone's friend, it's easy to be someone's friend. But when you have a little bit of pushback, whether it be not being able to see them as often, someone in your life that for whatever reason doesn't want you to spend time with them, or whatever the case may be, when it's not as easy for you, that's when it shows if someone is truly your friend.
Yeah. Now I have so in the situation where that same friend that you're not as close to anymore in the future decides to reach out and mend that bridge of communication, it's like from my perspective, I struggle to see us being as close as we were, but then at the same time, I don't know, I can't think of any reason why I wouldn't leave that door open, but it just seems that it's not possible because there's years lost, you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think. For me, I think it's a case-by-case basis, and I'd want it to be a very open conversation about why this happened, why this person moved away, or why the relationship just started to move apart. But I think for me, the biggest thing is I don't know if I'll ever feel the same way I did about that person, because I think after the relationship is broken, it'll never be 100% fixed, because no matter what, I feel like I'll always be questioning whether that person truly valued the relationship as much as I did. Whether it's like, oh, like for me, yeah, I have all these things. I have work, I have my girlfriend, I have all these external things, but it's like I would never allow any of those things to interfere with my friendship with all my friends.
And that person did.
So when they did, it's like, oh, I know I wouldn't, and because of how much I value my friendship with these people. So then I start to wonder, did this person ever value his friendship with us as much as I think, or as much as I valued that relationship? So 100%. It has to go a case-by-case basis, because in some cases it's like, yeah, I think they did. Maybe they're just, going through some tough times or learning, figuring themselves out. But in other cases it's like, maybe you didn't care. And that's fine too. But it's like, I don't want to fix
but
it.
You have to.
Exactly.
You have to move on.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about, I think we talked about it last time, but I want to ask you about social media.
Yeah.
Just in general. Does any part of social media scare you?
Yeah, of course. I'm weak when it comes to social media. Genuinely.
In what sense?
Like any single point of time that I've taken a break, whether it be a week, whether I've deleted an app, whether I've deactivated an account for it could be a week, 2, a month, a couple months. Especially in regards to Instagram and Snapchat, what I've realized is that it doesn't matter how long, how much time I've taken away from the social media apps. The day I get back, nothing's changed. My habits are still alive and active. When the whole point of that break was to simply digest and get used to a 24-hour cycle without having to reach into my phone and clicking on these apps.
Yeah.
And even if I do feel better, mentally, I feel more open, more time in my day. I give myself more time. I give myself more individual time. The moment I open that app, nothing changed.
Yeah, it's scary for me too, because this is my full-time job.
Yeah.
But throughout the 3-4 years I've been posting on social media, I've taken several breaks for a week, 2 weeks. And when I say breaks, I don't just mean me not posting. I mean deleting the apps and not even being a consumer. And it sucks to say, because it's my job, that every single time I've done it, I've found myself happier.
Yeah.
And that's scary, because it's like, oh, so am I as happy as I thought I was, with this being my job? Because don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for what I'm able to do. It's a dream come true for me to just make people laugh and be on my own schedule and do all these things. It is a blessing to do what I do for a living. But it's like, oh, I find myself happier when I'm not on social media at all. That's what scares me. But we're not built for this.
There's elements to it that you go through that I don't. So social media for me at my point in life is pure entertainment, simply pure. Obviously, there's times for knowledge and information that I can learn. But in your case, it's also a career. So there's an additional pressure that you have as an influencer that I don't have as simply a consumer of the content. You know what I'm trying to say? So I could see how you would be happier, because there is no pressure for that point in time where you don't have to be on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's tough, because we talk about this all the time. You are not the traditional content creator. And from me, and I'm not a content creator, so it's difficult for me to put you all in a box. But from what I think it is, what I think it means to be a social media influencer versus how you live your life and how you produce your content, it seems like you've carved your own path, or you're trying to carve your own path while still dealing with all the temptations that being a social media influencer comes with.
For sure. I think, honestly, even as a consumer, I think I just, more and more as I spend time on social media, I see a lot more of the evil side of social media, which I should say there is a beautiful side of social media. It does so many, like some of the biggest laughs of my life have been on social media, being able to connect with people. But something that scares me is I feel like even though social media is supposed to like be connecting people, I feel like it has made people almost less tolerable of other people's opinions because especially with like TikTok nowadays and Instagram, the algorithms are built for you to see the content that you want.
Yeah.
So you're kind of shown this world and
Instantly too.
And unconscious or subconsciously you're thinking that this is what the whole world is like, or this is what everyone is seeing on their social media, on their For You page or whatever the case may be. But it's not, it's what you're seeing. So then when you get put in the position where you do see someone else's opinions, I just feel like people are a lot less tolerable of that nowadays.
100%. Because if you like, comment, or share the 3 to 5 TikToks of the same within the same genre, your entire feed's gonna be covered by it.
Absolutely.
And then there's a boatload of positive reinforcement that comes with you seeing there's 1 million likes on this post, there's 50,000 shares on this post, there's 100,000 comments, and I totally agree. Which means that you assume that all of these engagement metrics also agree. So then it just you're sort of giving yourself a positive reinforcement that this topic and this opinion that I have must be the opinion of the masses. When in reality, it's not. It's only what you see.
It's not even just videos. It's actually comments as well. So I didn't know this, but like say I post the video, different people will see different comments at the top. It's not always the number one most liked content. Like I'll go on my girlfriend's phone and she'll have different top comments than mine.
On TikTok?
And it's almost I've seen it where it's almost geared towards that person's point of view. Like I guess I see I'll look at like hate comments, and then when I go on different videos, I see the hate comments before the positive comments.
Yeah, I've noticed that on a couple of your videos. Yeah. So you have to scroll down to see a couple of the hate comments, and if you go to a different one, it might be the top comment.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, is that just based on what that person is consuming, the content that they see on their page?
So I got a question for you. As a content creator, what part of your line of work do you enjoy, and what part of your line of work do you try to stay away from as you continue to grow? Because what it seems like is if you're not compromising your integrity for what you produce online, but at the same time you may be leaving room for growth because you want to stay true to yourself.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I think one of the things I don't ever want to do is like I don't think I ever want to do lifestyle content. I don't like it to an extent, like a day in the life, that kind of stuff, but I don't ever want to be one of those content creators that's posting all day every day, because then it's like you're never actually getting a break. You know what I mean? I think one of the changes I've made in terms of growing is something I used to love to do was read the comments. And now it's very much
good or bad, or you love to read it when it was good?
Honestly, a while ago, I didn't mind good or bad. I think because it was 99% good.
Yeah, okay.
But also, I think it's like before, it didn't feel as much of a job to read the comments because I could easily read all of the comments.
Yeah.
Now it is impossible to read all the comments.
Especially on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. So I think one area that it's like, and it's still something I'm battling with, is I don't really read the comments as much anymore. And in a sense, I do feel happier, but then it makes me sad because it's like, oh, I'm missing out on all these positive comments. I'm missing out on all these people telling me how much they enjoy my content or jokes or little things. Like some of my followers are hilarious with the comments they make. So honestly, what I do now is like every video after it's been up for maybe like an hour, I'll read really quick through all the comments, because within an hour I can still more or less read all the comments that are posted. But that's something I can't do anymore, is just go through all of them. It's just like, it's time consuming. It messes with you mentally. And it's just like, I always just think back to like this is not what human beings are built for. You know what I mean? You're
Now
not.
we are.
Yeah. Now we're starting to get to there, but like our primal instincts are not
No.
to do this. And for
not
me
to
to
go
get
on
all
live,
this
yeah.
external gratification, but also external hate is just like it's not good for you because like these aren't people. They're
Yeah.
not like I've told you this before, but I've gotten recognized probably. I don't know, in the 3 years since I started doing social media, let's say I've been recognized 200 times. 200 out of 200 have been someone coming to me with love. You know what I mean? But it doesn't always feel like that on social media because the haters can be so loud. So
Yeah.
it's like I have to remind myself, I'm like, man, I haven't had a single person come at me in person with hate. Someone come because it's like people aren't gonna do that.
Yeah.
People either
It's easy to be behind the wall.
100%,
Typing, right?
100%. And a lot of the times I'll look on the comments of these, or I'll look at the profiles of these people commenting, and it's some like 14-year-old girl. It's some person who has 0 followers, 0 posts, like just a ghost. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a burner account or
Bots.
a child. You know what I mean? And it's like, shit, I know all the messed up stuff I used to say when I was a kid, all the like random, just hating, thinking it was a joke or thinking, just making fun of people.
It's the
And
ability
like,
to know
yeah, I
that
get
you
it.
can. Like, if you know you can say something without any repercussion, literally without even expecting a response. A lot of comments, whether they be positive or negative, they're not said expecting a response.
Exactly. And that's
So-
why I choose not to respond because
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't give it attention.
Can't beat them.
And
up
I've
there,
had people in my life tell me like, if that was me, I would make a burner account to defend myself. And it's like, bro, it's not worth it.
That's not even healthy.
It's not.
and it's not
worth it.
sustainable.
Yeah, 100%.
You'd be typing every night.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to be, or if you see yourself being as successful in the industry as much as you as well as you could, taking that long to type. I don't even know how Kevin Durant does it. He's supposed to be an amazing basketball player. It does not make sense to me. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you could be such a great at whatever you do.
Multi-millionaire.
Multi-millionaire, very wealthy, not rich, wealthy. Have anything you could ask for. Obviously, that comes with peaks and troughs in life, no matter what. There's dark days for everyone. But to get on an account, sign into an account that isn't yours, not just to scroll and have fun on social media without being profiled as Kevin Durant or any other star, but to respond to hate,
Yeah.
I don't understand.
But I'm telling you, it's a challenge, but it really is the way to go to just not entertain it at all. But there's so many things about social media that scares me, like seeing people, and I'm sure you've seen it, like seeing people rent out jets not to fly, just on the tarmac to take pictures of them.
They do that in music videos too all the time.
Yeah, and it's like, it scares me that people are they care so much about the perception of what they look like on social media. It's the exact same thing with relationships. And I talk to my girlfriend about this all the time, but it's like, look, people that post all kinds of couple pictures, no issue with it, no problem with it. But personally, I've found that like the couples that post a bunch of couple content online seem to be the couples that are not the happiest.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't feel the need to post online are the ones that are the happiest.
It's a tough one, man. Because it works in like different communities deal with it differently. And I'll be honest, I don't want to label, but in my community, specifically in the Black communities, for a good amount of people, it's not common to post who you're dealing with until it's very certain. You know what I mean? Like,
And why is that?
Honestly, if I really had to think about it, I think there's definitely some underlying trust issues on both ends, especially from men. And and I think coming from an ethnic background, especially like first generation Canadians, we're not used to seeing boatloads of affection from our parents and our family members. So that definitely translates to our children, which is us. So when we get into a relationship, we're not, even amongst friends, especially if all of them are, if they also come from minority households, it's difficult to see our own homies, our own friends holding hands, being affectionate with their partners. We're not really used to it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I never thought about it like that with the parents, because
100%. That's the way because growing up, I never had a friend that was affectionate in front of me with their partner, with their girlfriend. Never.
That's something Monica and I talk about is I do not like PDA.
Yeah.
Like if I'm holding her hand, no problem. I don't like kissing her in public. I don't like if it's a little peck on the lip. Oh, like I don't know. I'm flying somewhere. Okay, but I give her like that's fine. But like there's couples that like are cuddling it with with people around them.
I saw
and, like,
a video
making
last
out.
week of a girl sitting. She was on the subway and she sat on her boyfriend, but facing him.
Yeah, I saw that. I know the video you're talking about.
And the homie with the TikTok's like, what is going on?
Yeah, and he's right next to them.
Yeah, he's right next to them. He called them out for it. I respect him.
Yeah.
But I just never had examples growing up. Truthfully, like amongst all my friends, I never had an example of a close friend of mine that had a girlfriend at the time and was affectionate. I'm not asking him to make. I don't request him to make out with her in front of me.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing like, hopefully, I could see a sign of a healthy relationship, even holding hands. That was rare to me. So when I was entering my relationships for the first time growing up as a young adult, like I was struggling with affection.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like that plays a role in some of the issues with social media as people see these couples online who do PDA or who do look like they have this dream relationship, and then because it's on social media, there's been since social media has become a thing,
Those
there's
are
been
some high
huge
standards.
Yeah,
Those
high
some high
standards,
standards.
and there's been some huge rises in anxiety, depression, suicide, because people are seeing this life online and thinking that it is the reality when it is not.
It is not real.
There's so many aspects where it's like you need to take a step back and realize that, especially when it comes to influencers, that is not
break it down, man. Life isn't peaches and creams.
Yeah, it never is for anybody. And there's something Joe Rogan always says, which is like, the worst thing to happen to you is still the worst thing to happen to you. Like, some people have much harder life than you or I or anybody.
But it still could be the worst thing in your life.
Exactly.
100%.
And it's scary to me because I'm like, man, think about, it's 2024 now. Think about 2004. No social media, no smartphones, no nothing. And now it's like everyone has a smartphone. Everyone is on their phone. I hate looking at my screen time. I've been trying to work on it. But like, everyone's on their phone all day long. And it's like, that was 20 years ago.
If I'm ever in a family setting and a kid under 10 asks me for the Wi-Fi, a part of me wants to break his phone. A large part of me wants to break his phone. Then I realize it's not my responsibility as a family member.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's where we're at.
Yeah. And it's like, well, think about what's going to happen 20 years from now. It's scary.
What do we need? 20 years from now, our children will be born with chips in their brain. They'll be born.
But bro, like, you don't think... I remember when we were kids, like, I remember riding my bike to your house and knocking on your door to see if you can come outside and play. Like, or calling you. I remember like having everyone's home phone. Now I still remember. It's not the same phone number, right?
No, we don't have a home phone anymore.
So I can say the number.
Yeah. It
was 905-426 or 427?
426.
7071.
My guy.
I still remember.
My guy.
Because I used to call you and then have to ask your mom, can I talk to you? Was yours
905-428?
426?
426? I don't remember.
5028.
5028. Okay, so there's a 28 in there.
Yeah. But it's like, I remember doing that, or like the very beginning of social media, like us going on MSN and seeing who's online and that kind of stuff. But it's like,
I feel like I think we were the last generation. I want to say 97 to 2000 was the last batch of years where we actually enjoyed youth without social media. Yeah. Because we transitioned. I remember Instagram came when we were in grade 9. And then from the rest was history.
I remember, like, even it just makes me sad thinking, like, kids nowadays, they're not playing outside. They're not, like, I remember even like before playing with you guys, like I would play on my street, like with all the other kids on the street, playing ball hockey, playing baseball, playing stuff like that. And it's just like, now it's just all online. Don't get me wrong, bro. You know me. I love video games.
No, 100%.
But
it's a domino effect, because if fun for us is riding a bike, we're not engulfed in anything else that could harm our way of thinking or that could make us feel a certain way or give us new desires. And what I mean by that is, if you sit on your iPad as a child and all you watch is content, you're gonna get bombarded with materialistic items. You're gonna get bombarded with a lifestyle that you might not be living at the moment with your family.
Unrealistic expectations. Then you start having these desires that you don't even know you wanted. Like, to the point where over the past summer when I went to go see family in the States, my cousin's on Roblox. He had an iced out diamond chain with a Palm Angels crew neck on his avatar for Roblox. Yeah.
And he's 8. And I'm wondering, like, when I was 8, I was crying over video games.
Yeah.
That I couldn't get, and I would bike to my friend's house and complain, probably get a slushie, and I had a great day.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a power outage, it's going down.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
It's scary. Do you think that that like COVID itself has had any effect on you long term, whether it be social media, whether it be anything in general? Something that still affects you now.
COVID. I could honestly say I was able to, like, naturally, I was able to be comfortable alone. Because it was for the first time in my life where there were legitimate reasons why I couldn't leave my home, which meant that I had to be comfortable with being with myself and my family for long periods of time. And growing up, there was always a reason to be around other people, whether it be friends, family, trips, vacations, school. There was always other communities I could tap into, like in a physical sense, and be there, be present, and then go home, digest, call it a night. But during COVID, that's all I had was my family in the crib when we were at home. So I learned to be comfortable alone. Sometimes it's better to communicate, check in with people around you. But I did realize that I could, for example, go for a long period of time, not in the presence of others, but still be comfortable with who I am and what I care about. So,
Do you feel 25? Like, do you think COVID? Because for me, I feel like COVID. I don't feel 26, and I feel like part of it is because of COVID. Because I didn't feel like I actually.
But do you
those
think
years.
every 26-year-old feel this way, or only the 26-year-olds that went through COVID?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I think like I've had a girlfriend now for it's about to be 3 years. I'm 26. Everything is going good. Like you would think, in the next 5 years, you're talking engagement, kids,
nah, man,
health,
come
that
on,
kind of
Jesse,
stuff.
be respectful. A little bit less than 5.
within
no,
that 5 year window, you're thinking about all these things, and I'm like, I'm not ready to have a kid right now.
Yeah.
And I know neither is she. Like we're not close to that point, but it's like we're getting into that window where in the next couple years, our age, the 98s, there's kids we're kids having kids, there's kids getting married, there's kids buying their forever homes and all these things, and it's like, man, I feel more 23 than I do 26.
Yeah. No, COVID definitely. Yeah, there is an argument to be made that it did stun our growth a little bit.
Yeah. I also feel like something that's like still a permanent effect is I think that my social battery has gotten worse since COVID. I think before COVID, I was a lot more, okay, we're doing this on Friday, we're doing this on Saturday, we're doing this on Sunday, okay, I'm down. Now it's like one day of like being out and like seeing people, and I'm like let me go. Like I like to go back to the crib.
That's
I like
enough.
to relax. I like to play video games, have my Jesse time. Or I feel like it's maybe because of COVID, because I got so used to that. I got so used to, like you said, being by myself, and now I'm almost too comfortable by myself. Where
that's
like
what
I
it
love
comes down
Jesse
to.
time.
Yeah, especially when you find things to take up time. When we were finding things to take up time during COVID, whether it be video games or a certain new industry you want to learn about or certain skill you want to develop, that was all alone. So we gave ourselves hours and hours of time, and then now it's very difficult to be constantly in a group setting for days at a time.
Yeah.
When you are comfortable without that, like, and I do understand people that do thrive off group settings. I am one of them, honestly.
100%.
In certain environments,
You're a chameleon.
But at the same time, it's a weird feeling knowing that I would be comfortable alone, but at the same time, I would be comfortable amongst a large amount of friends around me too. So there's a balance to it.
I wanted to also ask you, this is kind of changing the subject, but have you been watching Love is Blind?
I've watched previous seasons,
Not this
but
one.
I've kept up with this one for like major news.
Yeah.
I heard some girl say she looks like Megan Fox, but she does not.
That's what's going viral.
Yeah.
But people are saying that they're putting all the attention on her, but the guy also said that he looks like Christian McCaffrey, which honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I've been watching it. That's a
good-looking brother though.
Christian McCaffrey's a great looking dude. I've been watching it with Monica, and Monica told me that he doesn't look like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
But literally before this was even a story, because they didn't put this in the show. This is like news that came out after. When we were watching the episode and I first saw him, I said, that kind of looks like Christian McCaffrey.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I see it. I don't know how many people were saying that looks like Megan Fox, but on the other hand, Monica thinks she's like, I can see it in the eyes a little bit. I'm like, maybe a little.
Definitely a reach. I saw her picture. It's definitely a reach.
Do you think you could ever be on a show like that?
No, not Love is Blind specifically.
Yeah, let's say Love is Blind.
No, I don't believe Love is Blind.
I don't either,
honestly.
But what about solely for the fact that I would say specifically this season,
it's a great show. Don't get me wrong.
And they pick an attractive bunch most of the time. To me, there's never someone that I'm like, oh, I don't find her attractive at all. Like most of
Yeah.
the time, I feel like you can almost trust with the show that like they're gonna be somewhat attractive. But I agree. I do not think Love is Blind.
No, for me, it's a bit of both. It's initial attraction will make me interested in you before I even know your name. But that initial conversation and the conversations to be had after that point is when I'm going to develop a real attraction for you. So Love is Blind skips the process of this is what I look like. Do you want to talk to me? And it just goes straight to getting to know me. So I can build an emotional connection with you without seeing your face. But for me, I would have to see you to know if this is real. Like I can go through that entire experiment and feel like I've met a great person. But subconsciously in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I don't know if this is real yet. Like, I don't know if I can commit to spend the rest of my life with someone without knowing what they look like. And I would expect them to have that same question towards me. Like, I'd want them to know what I would look like before they assume they're going to say, I do,
100%.
which is a very big decision to make.
I mean, physical attraction is important. I want my partner to be physically attracted to me. I want to be attracted to my partner. Maybe the concept is that once you're already in love with them, no matter how they look, you love how they look. But I think it's like within reason, to be honest.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah,
it's not sustainable.
So you never audition because come to Toronto. You never audition even just for the clout.
No, no. I would have to create my own character and just have as much fun as possible. And then you know what's devious about that show is that regardless of when the whoever's engaged, regardless of when one partner decides not to be with that person, the show literally makes them stay with that person until it's time to say I do.
Not this season. They changed it.
Oh, they had the ability to leave at any point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honest, so
okay.
Yeah, they changed it.
It was so dark.
I remember season 1. It's like they all had to go to the wedding, and it's like
it's so
you're
dark.
making them bring their families here. You're making them bring all these people. No, so this season, I don't remember how many couples came out of the pods. 5 or 6.
Yeah.
2 made it to the altar.
Wow.
And 1.
2 just to say
couples.
I do.
Well, 2 couples made it to the altar. 1 couple got married.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if
previous seasons they would bring 5 or 6 couples to the altar.
All the couples that got out of the pod made it to the altar. But this one, like after like 5-6 couples came out of the pods, but within the month from getting out of the pods to getting to the wedding, they broke up.
More realistic.
Yeah, 100%.
Because imagine I'm looking, as you're gonna wear a wedding dress. I'm gonna wear a wedding suit. You're gonna get hair, makeup. My whole friends and family. I'm gonna get a pep talk. My parents are gonna come in.
Yeah.
This is not it's not my second wedding. It's my first. It's a big day for everyone in my family, everyone that knows me. Just for me to go up to the altar and say, I don't want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Yeah, but it's still crazy because one of the couples still did that.
Yeah.
He still said, I do not.
Oh
you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so if not Love is Blind, what reality show, what game, like competition reality show
okay.
do you think you would be the most successful in, or do you think you could win?
So what I would excel in?
Yeah.
What I think I would excel in?
I think I know what you would excel in.
I'd have to say games like Big Brother.
Yeah.
I would say a game like Big Brother, The Amazing Race. I don't know if that's still on.
It's still on, yeah.
Amazing Race, Survivor.
Do you think you could not survive on Survivor, but you would
Love
excel
Island?
in
If I was on testosterone, Love Island, I think I could win. And if I went to Turkey and got a hair transplant, I think I would do great on Love Island.
But Love Island, it's so complicated because you win by being the most popular couple, like the most liked couple, right?
Yeah.
The audience votes.
Yeah.
That's weird because it's like you're trying to put value on how good your relationship looks to the
100%.
public, but also it comes down to the producer's edit.
Yeah.
Like if they can make any couple win if they want.
That's why the key is to be entertaining on the show. Whether you're a bad person or a great person, as long as you can either create drama or you can have amazing one-liners, or your speeches are so cute and adorable to the point where people on Twitter are talking about you for days after the episode airs, then the producers will naturally work around the cut to make sure that you have as much airtime. So it's definitely, they're involved in the making of the winner. But
you probably got to take like a few months, like anyone, take a few months. Once you know you're casted, take a few months to get into your best,
character. Be like, hi, my name's...
do you think you'd put on a character, or you just try to be authentic?
I'd be myself.
It'd be entertaining.
The thing is, though, those type of shows, you have to struggle to be yourself. Like, you really have to struggle to maintain who you are because you know there's a million cameras watching you. So, but at the same time, shows like that, when you're in a environment like that for so long, you forget cameras are even there every day because you're waking up and sleeping there. There's no clocks.
Yeah, even a show like Jersey Shore is exactly like that. I'm like a huge Jersey Shore fan, and I've done so much research on how the show operated, and it's like literally there was no the cameras followed you everywhere.
Those early seasons, it was just straight wild. No,
yeah,
there was no order.
So the first season they were getting paid like nothing. I think they got paid from the actual t-shirt shop they worked in, and I think on top of that, I think they made like I want to say like $3,000 each. For the whole season.
MTV has all the leverage in the early seasons, and then from there you work your way around it.
But then season 2, I mean, after season 1 blew up,
so
then season 2 and 3 they were making money. They went to Miami and then back to Seaside. Pauly, Situation, and Snooki were making the most money, rightfully so. I think they were the 3 most entertaining characters.
Yeah.
And then they went to Italy in season 4 because they had gotten too popular. Like by the end of season 3. Anytime they're walking the boardwalk, you can see in the background just crowds of people just following them because they were worldwide sensations. Everyone knew about, literally. So that's the main reason they went to Italy is because nobody knew who the hell they were in Italy, and it was a good season.
What show would you be on?
Does it have to be a game show?
No, whatever you
or like a competition.
Yeah,
I think Big Brother, same for me. I think Big Brother is just an easier Survivor.
Yeah.
The same thing, but you don't have to starve. You don't have to, you don't have to live in the wild. You don't have to eat just like rice and like, yeah.
But do you think the key to those shows, specifically Survivor and Big Brother, is sticking to a narrative of who you want your identity to be on the show and then running with it for as long as possible? Or do you think you have a better chance of winning the show if you could be yourself?
I think being yourself, but it's tough because I feel like in a way you kind of want to.
We've seen both.
You kind of want to be a character. Honestly, I've only watched a bit of Big Brother, but if I were to like be cast on a show like that, I would watch every single season, knowing from the beginning who wins, and just watch them and just try to see any kind of anything in common between all the winners. But it's tough. I don't know. Like I feel like I would want to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to be a nobody on the show,
but you also don't want to be labeled as a huge threat.
Yeah, you don't want to be the biggest threat. So it's tough. But I also think when it comes to a show like that, I feel like it's almost more important to just become popular from it than to win.
Especially now.
Yeah, it's just like it's about if you can create one like iconic meme, iconic moment, it could completely change your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think Big Brother would be interesting. I don't think I'd be able to survive on Survivor, or it would be tough. Like they all lose weight, like they actually like starve and stuff. I don't know.
Do it.
Maybe but it's like do I want to?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was speaking of Jersey Shore. So I've told you I read Mike's book, Reality Check. I think it's called Making the Best of a Situation.
It's an autobiography.
Yeah, it's an autobiography, and it is wild. Like, bro, just he was on drugs the entire time, the entire time of filming.
Wow.
Like, I don't know if you remember. This is in Italy. He gets into a big fight with Ronnie, and he slams his head against the wall.
I do remember that with the glasses.
Was
he wearing glasses sometimes?
No, he had a neck. Oh no, he got a neck brace after, and that was like a thing. But like, he's like supposed to fight Ron, and he like smacks his head against the wall. He's like, "Let's do it!" And he gets a concussion.
Yeah.
And he talks about it in the book, and it's like the whole time the reason he was so like hyped up and like all this stuff is because he was going through withdrawals because he was in Italy, so he couldn't get all the stuff that he was taking. Like, bro, he was on Percocets, he was on Oxy, he was on cocaine, he was on all these things, and he miscalculated how much he would need for the Italy trip. So during that time, he was going through withdrawals. So that's why he was like super irritated, just on edge, and then he lost it. And it's crazy now he's like clean and all that stuff. But he said like he didn't even really drink during the show. He drank a little bit here and there, but he's like,
no, it's tough too when you're taking that many drugs.
Yeah, he's like, bro, I was just on
I
was just on just heavy
opioids,
like perks, and he was taking like, I think he said like 60 Percocets a day.
60?
60.
No.
Yeah. That's what he said he was taking. He said he was just on another
insane.
level. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a highly addictive drug too.
But in a way, Jersey Shore kind of ruined his life, but also has saved his life because now he's making bank.
Yeah.
Him and now his wife is on the show too, so they're both getting paid from MTV. He's clean.
No, but that's the question, right? It's like you get thrown into this world of reality TV, and it leads to a lot of vices that can harm your life. But at the same time, the platform that was provided to you by the reality TV is the reason why you are where you are now.
Yeah.
Like success-wise. It's a weird paradox. It's like it's a bit of take and give, you know?
And it's crazy because with Jersey Shore, there was never anything like it. The way they became overnight sensations.
How old were we when that show aired? Like 9?
Something like
9?
that. I think, maybe like 2007, 2008.
All I remember is it was every Thursday at 9, MTV.
Yeah.
I would wait until my parents would go to bed. I would sneak downstairs, go on Rogers On Demand, because they would immediately put the episode on for 48 hours right after. And I would watch that show thinking that, like, this is it.
They were living the life.
Yeah, like, whoa, I can't wait until I'm 20.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, JWoww was so beautiful. I used to think Sammy was so sexy back in the day.
I was a fan of JWoww, I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot over there, yeah. There's too many shows but it's crazy because kids are getting consumed by a ridiculous amount of negative content now. Not even negative, but like let's just say wild content now.
Yeah.
We had our own version of that in TV, but we just didn't have as much accessibility to it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? I wanted to switch the subjects again because, I mean, from the time of filming this, it's been a couple weeks. But for us, last week, Francis Ngannou fought Anthony Joshua.
Sad day. It was a sad day.
A sad L for Francis. But I want to ask you,
day.
what are your do you think sports are getting too nice? Do you think athletes are getting too nice? Because did you see the promo, the commercial that they filmed together?
And then immediately after, they do the press conference together.
Yeah.
Post photos.
So like, if you ask me, obviously I wasn't alive during the 80s, but Mike Tyson would have never done that shit. No. Mike Tyson was not filming commercials with his opponents.
He was ill though.
Yeah, he was. But do you think it's, and not just boxing, like, you know, I feel like in the NBA now, everyone's boys, everyone's friends with each other, and it's not necessarily a bad thing in general. But do you think it's bad for the sport, for the competition aspect, or do you think it's just like nowadays a lot of these guys, they don't necessarily care as much about their greatness, about their legacy, they just want to get a bag, which is fine too.
It does harm competitiveness, but it harms it in more sports than others. Like basketball, for example, I think not being friends with competition mainly applies to physical sports because there's an element of tenacity, and it's either you take my head or I take yours. In a game like basketball, when there's so many players making so much money, there isn't really a need to hate or dislike another team. Maybe if there's an organization that is hell bent on winning championships, and there's a certain culture that needs to be created on the team, then from executives down, they're gonna push a certain culture on the team to maintain aggression, not have any friends, don't swap jerseys, things like that. But it is necessary, the aggressive aspect in sports like mixed martial arts, boxing, and even football, because it comes down to a point where I'm trying to hurt you intentionally. Like I'm intentionally trying to hurt you. I'm intentionally trying to break your will by empowering mine onto yours.
Yeah.
So it did throw me off when immediately after the Ngannou fight that he's sitting at the post-fight press conference with Anthony Joshua. I get it, mutual respect, African kings, which I do appreciate. But the way his knee bent when he hit the canvas, I would not expect him to be cordial with that man at all.
You know what I think?
At all.
It, like, the way his knees bent is almost the exact same way he put Stipe to sleep when he won the belt. It was almost the exact same way.
It was actually so dark. We've never seen Francis Ngannou even knocked down.
Yeah.
He's not a professional boxer, we understand. Like, he's 0-2 against two of the best heavyweight boxers of all time. But the way he got dropped, and he got dropped 3 times, and the third one was a flatline KO. It wasn't a TK. It wasn't a technical knockout. He got mauled.
Yeah.
And a giant like that hitting the canvas with his eyes rolled back is insane to see.
Yeah. And you think of him as like a hero or like almost not human.
Like his story, I've told you, we've talked about this multiple times.
Yeah.
You cannot write a story better than Francis Ngannou's. You honestly can. From migrating to Europe, dealing with all the bullshit that he had to deal with, traveling from France to the US, becoming a UFC heavyweight champion, dominating, then transitioning into boxing after...
And betting on himself to move to boxing.
He mentioned it last week, and after talking to Kamaru and Henry Cejudo, he said he was offered $5 million for a new contract for his last fight with one of his, was it both knees or one knee? Seriously injured.
Yeah, I think one knee.
He ended up opting in for $600K leaving his contract, and then he's reported to have made $30 million from his last 2 fights. Even while losing, it's $30 million more than you would have made than if you were in the UFC.
I got to give him credit because I thought he was making a stupid decision when he left. I didn't think he'd ever actually be able to fight Tyson, to fight Joshua without getting some fights under his belt that I didn't know if he could actually get 100%. Under his belt.
Tyson Fury. Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you think that either Anthony Joshua has just outclassed him at such a high level, or do you think Tyson Fury had a bad day against Francis Ngannou? Because it's very difficult for me to see that Anthony Joshua losing twice to Usyk in the fashion that he did, and Tyson Fury being one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant heavyweight boxer of all time, and to basically essentially lose in the fans' eyes to a first-time professional boxer in Francis Ngannou.
I think no matter what Tyson says, I don't think he was serious. I don't know what he said after the fight with Francis, but I remember him before the fight saying that he was taking him serious. He wasn't just making like Francis an afterthought. I don't think he was serious, but maybe it was.
But what does that mean? You mean like he didn't train, no camp?
Not no camp, but I don't think he was as dedicated, as disciplined as he normally would be for regular camp. But I guess we'll see. I'd love to see Tyson versus Joshua. I guess it would have to be if Tyson beats Usyk.
Yeah, but Usyk's already beat Joshua twice, so because the original plan was Anthony Joshua to run through Usyk and then have the biggest heavyweight boxing match of our generation. But then he lost twice to Usyk, had that mental breakdown in the ring, and then that kind of messed up the cards, the way the cards were being dealt.
Yeah.
So now it's tight. Now it's set up for Tyson Fury to fight Usyk.
That'll be a good fight. I feel like you're bigger into boxing than I am. I keep an eye on the big fights, but like nothing too crazy. But speaking of big fights, UFC 300.
UFC 3.
I would love to go through a rundown.
Let's do it.
Of the fights. Main event, which I'd say is the only bummer to this card, is Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill.
Yeah.
I don't. It is what it is. It's not the fight that should have been. What do you think happened? Why? Because that 100% was not the UFC's first choice.
It simply had to have been. They offered many champions the main event, and they just wouldn't accept them. Because if we go down a list of divisions, obviously you wouldn't put a flyweight, you wouldn't put a bantamweight or a featherweight. Actually, you could. So let's just say bantamweight and flyweight. You wouldn't put that as the main event.
You can't.
For UFC 300. It's impossible.
You can't.
So from the top down, you got heavyweight. All right. John Jones, ineligible. Then you get to light heavyweight, which is why Pereira's fighting Hill.
Yep.
Middleweight, Izzy did say on Theo Von's podcast that Duplessis turned down the fight for UFC 300. It was offered.
Based on not enough time? Recovery?
I guess the turnaround.
It would be what, January to April?
Yeah, because he fought in Toronto against Strickland.
And that was January 20th.
Yeah.
This would be April 3rd. So less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months.
I don't blame him, but it's...
For that big of a stage?
And that big of a bag. He definitely would have been able to renegotiate and all that. I think like Duplessis versus Adesanya would have been a great fight.
Yeah.
Besides
That's it. We're at welterweight.
I'm happier with this than I would have been with Leon Edwards versus Bilal. I did not want to see that fight. No, I did not want to see that fight. Do you think... I feel like people are kind of counting out Jamal Hill.
100% they are.
Do you think he's got a shot?
He doesn't have as much power as Alex Pereira. We just have to assume that he's a better all-around fighter than Pereira. But anyone that's fought him has realized that his left hand is vicious, and he relies solely on what he had standing on his feet.
Yeah, I think Alex is gonna take it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous what he's been able to do with his career in 11 fights.
A part of me will always hate him. I'll be honest with you, because I'm a serious Israel Adesanya fan. Honestly, for like about the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and for me to see him in defeat from this man.
I remember you were on top of the world for a while with the African champions when Francis was heavyweight, when Usman was the champ at 170 and Adesanya.
100%. There was a moment in time where I was wishing for a fight in Africa, and I was going to do whatever I can to make it out there.
Yeah.
And then within a year, that entire dream just came tumbling
now
down.
It would have to be South Africa for Duplessis.
No, I'm sorry. I wouldn't be.
Where do you think it would have been though? Nigeria?
It would have to
I don't
be.
know who. Like, I don't know what country has the infrastructure.
Infrastructure-wise, for a stadium, it would have to. There's a lot of countries with stadiums, but then you have to
Soccer
think about
stadiums.
Yeah, but you have to think about the market for them as well, like fighter-wise.
Yeah, and I don't think has the UFC ever done an outdoor arena. I'm assuming all these arenas that are soccer stadiums
Saudi
in Africa.
Arabia. Oh no, Abu Dhabi is outdoor, I believe.
Mm.
When they do their fights in Abu Dhabi,
That's
I'm
not.
not sure.
Is it?
I don't know if it's closed. Is it closed?
Oh, I think it's like a tent.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I guess they could do something similar. What about honestly,
Zhang.
I've never seen Yan Xiaonan
I've
fight.
seen her fight. I've seen her
You
fight.
think Zhang Weili?
She's strong, but Zhang is vicious.
And what about the BMF fight? This is so interesting.
I won't lie to you. I would have appreciated if this was the main event. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway, simply because they're both like they're super fighters of the sport.
I'm scared. You know how like people
Fan favorites.
You know how people are posting all these memes about like Volkanovski getting knocked out and like them like crying, like breaking down because Volkanovski. That's how I'm gonna be if Max like for the first time in his career gets slept. Right? He's never been knocked out.
No, never been knocked out.
If for the first time in his career he gets slept, I don't know how I'm gonna feel because I love Justin Gaethje too. But if anyone can knock out Max, who has probably like one of the most granite chins
100%.
in UFC history,
It would be Gaethje or Oliveira. It would be one of those two. Because whenever a fighter goes up, I always think about what are you walking into the ring at. Well, you could weigh in at 155. They both will be, but you're like for you to weigh in at 155 as a 145er, you probably walk around at what 170.
Yeah,
175 maybe. Justin Gaethje weighing at 155, he probably walks around at 180.
Yeah,
185.
Max is a lot skinnier though. Like even at 155, he's gonna
lean.
He's gonna be lean. He's tall. He's like what 5'11" maybe. So I mean, he's definitely gonna have the reach advantage. That's a very interesting fight. And honestly, that's the people's main event for sure.
100%. Yeah, he has a longer reach even as a featherweight too.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Honestly, the next fight shouldn't even be on the main card.
It's disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful
to have Charles Oliveira under someone named Bo Nickel, unranked in the UFC, less than 5 fights. Against
Cody Brundage, like that's.
I don't know who that is, Jesse.
Me either.
Jesse, I don't know who that is, and they're on the main card of UFC 300.
But what about Charles versus Sarukian?
We spoke about this before the pod. Charles is disrespected odds wise as an underdog is insane.
Yeah,
it's the same way Dustin Poirier just got disrespected over the past weekend and ended up knocking out his opponent.
I'm telling you right now, I'm betting on Charles.
You're taking him? Money line?
Money line. Plus 170, those odds are too, like, it's like you said, the exact same way they disrespected Dustin Poirier. Yeah. I think Sarukian is much more accomplished and proven than Benoit Saint Denis. But it's like, what are we basing it off of? Because he lost to Islam.
Yeah.
The pound for pound GOAT right now.
I guess the odds have to do with who he lost to versus how good the favorite's performances were on his way to this fight. So it's a mix of both, but plus 170 is disrespectful, I'll be honest.
And you have to think, Charles, he's proven against not just like one person, like Sarukian, his last fight, I think he beat Beneil.
Yeah.
Very good dub.
In strong fashion, though.
100%. Yeah. And stronger fashion than, well, Charles won in the first round as well.
Yeah.
But Charles always gets in danger before he wins. But he's beaten Beneil. He's beaten Justin Gaethje. He's beaten Dustin Poirier. He's beaten Michael Chandler. He beat Tony before Tony was washed.
That's an insane resume.
It's insane. And he's plus 170.
And you're under Bo Nickel on the main event.
Absolutely.
On the main card of UFC 300.
All right, now going to the prelims. Honestly, we should have went from bottom to top, but this is fine. Yuri Prochazka against Rakic. Prochazka, another underdog against Rakic, who I don't think has fought in like a year and a half.
He's not even... Wow.
And it's like, once again, are they basing it off of Prochazka getting knocked out by Pereira?
I don't know, man. There's an element of who, like, where the money's being bet as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm taking Yuri.
I'm putting together a parlay. I'm telling you right now that I'm going to take Charles, Yuri, and the next fight we're going to talk about Aljo versus Calvin Kattar. I know you're scared that Aljo's
size. I'm only thinking about, look at the odds too. It's damn near even.
It's a pick 'em.
Yeah.
But I think like it's sticky with Aljo because yes, he's smaller, but like Kattar, I don't think he's that guy anymore. I don't think
Max broke him.
Yeah, Max.
After his fight with Max Holloway, he was broken.
You don't recover from fights like that, and he actually he hasn't fought in a year and a half. Whereas Aljo, I think he's just going to be stronger at 145. He's going to be bigger at not bigger than Calvin Kattar.
They do say Aljo's a big bantamweight.
Yeah, he's a very big
fighter.
And like if his game plan is to just wrestle Kattar, I think he wins that
3
fight
rounds
too.
He got him, but it's the same way. Don't get caught.
Yeah.
Calvin Kattar probably naturally has more strength and power than Sean O'Malley, and look what Sean O'Malley did.
Yeah. And then one more fight I wanted to talk about. If you can scroll down to it's all the way down here. Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt.
I'm taking Figueiredo, yeah.
That's a very it's interesting because it's Figueiredo's first fight at 135. And I feel like he's one of the guys that everyone's talked about, has always had a terrible weight cut to get to 125. So now he's going to be stronger. He's going to be more filled out. And it's not like Cody is a big dude. Like
No.
Cody fought at flyweight too, no?
Yeah, but he struggled.
Yeah, so it's like
sure.
the same thing. But Figueiredo's like still one of the best. Like, yeah, he struggled
100%.
in his fights with Moreno. But
Cody on his
has
way
no
out.
chin.
Yeah, he's on his way out. No
Yeah.
chin.
He's on a winning streak though. I think he's won 3 fights, or maybe
Really?
maybe 2. He's won his
Okay.
last couple fights, and like he's looked good, but he hasn't gotten caught.
Every time he loses, it just looks so bad.
Yeah,
Like I wonder why he still fights. But you just mentioned he's in a better position, so it's okay. I'm taking Figueiredo though. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I'm taking Bobby Green.
Jim effing Miller. There's a lot of good fights. I'm very excited for April 13th. So honestly, when this comes out, it'll be very close to UFC 300.
This might be the first UFC card where I watch every single fight.
Yeah, I told you, come over to my place.
Yeah.
Like at 6 o'clock, the first fight, because it's Figueiredo versus Cody. We're gonna be there from
That's
6
the first fight of the night?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're gonna be there from 6 until like 1 in the morning.
Just nonstop fights.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great
wow.
fights. Anyways, and I appreciate you coming by.
Jesse,
thank you
it's
so
been
much.
an honor and pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you to every single one of you for tuning in. I'm
you.
very excited about this journey. Appreciate you guys listening to the Listen podcast, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Yes, sir.